Evening to you. My name is Katira Poland. I am the founder and CEO of Poland Enterprises LLC, and we specialize in writing and editing for those in need of such services. So today I will be talking about developmental editing. I've been working on a few projects, particularly books for clients who are looking to be published. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about my experience working as a developmental editor. So the developmental editing stage is very subjective. It's also thorough, in depth. It's an examination of single words, phrasing, of your individual sentences, overall style and structure. There are also addresses plot holes, gaps, any problematic characterization. Also consists of critiquing, revision, development, reordering, moving, shaping, or cutting of words or paragraphs or chapters. So it's very intensive. It takes a lot of time. It's very intense. That's the proper word. It's very intense. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, very attention and detail oriented rather. And it's also known as structural or substantive editing. So that's the other names that it's known by. So again, getting back to the first point I made, that it's very subjective. So I'm definitely learning that. I started Poland Enterprises last year, so I've been in the editing game for about a year now. I don't have official certification, but I plan to pursue that in the future. It just came out of a love of words, reading, writing. I started writing poetry when I was in middle school. A friend of mine, Ebony Nicole Smith, who's also my publisher, she came to me and said she was looking for an editor, and I, opened up and let her know, well, I've always enjoyed the language and writing and reading, I can give it a shot. So I did a sample edit for her. She loved it, and we haven't looked back since. So it's been going really well for me. But yeah, it's very subjective. So for example, someone might put in their book, we went to the store and got candy. Now for me, that doesn't sound good to my ears. It doesn't make my ears happy, as I like to say. But again, that's subjective. If I were to edit that sentence, it would be rewritten as, we went to the store and bought candy. So that's the way that it sounds best to me, and that's the way I would recommend that it's written. But again, that's subjective. So I think a lot of first-time authors have concerns with developmental editing. Sometimes when they get their books back, they feel like their voice isn't there, like, oh, whose book is this? This doesn't sound like me. But again, it's subjective. So as a developmental editor, there's a thin line between editing the work and also keeping the voice. So that's something that I've learned with clients who, are concerned that after my edits, it didn't sound like them anymore. So I did have to go back and revise that for them to make sure they were satisfied with the final edits, because of course that's the most important thing, making sure that the customer is satisfied. But it's just a matter of also knowing what the client expects beforehand. So moving forward, I'm actually working on a consultation form, or actually a questionnaire for the client. So that way clients can let me know what type of editing they're looking for, if it's already been edited, if they just need a light proofread, or if they're looking for an editorial assessment, which is just a first overview of your manuscript where the editor gives you suggestions, strengths, weaknesses, room for improvement, etc. And then you use that feedback to move forward with developing your manuscript. So that's one way that I work with clients to make sure that they are satisfied or know what to expect with editing with Poland Enterprises LLC. Another way that is also helpful is doing a sample edit. So of course I shared I did that with my first editing client, Ebony, and she sent me, I think it was 2 or 3 pages, and I did a sample edit and sent it back to her. So for those of you who also edit or are interested in pursuing editing, that's another helpful way to make sure that the editor and the client are on the same page. So I would definitely recommend that as well. So this is really just an overview of developmental editing, but for authors who have never had a developmental edit, it is very intense. So there may be a lot of changes to your manuscript when you get it back, and it might not sound like your voice. It might not feel like you anymore, but just know that of course, it's not personal, that the editor has his or her own take on what sounds better or what feels better in the story or your book. So just being open, being honest, accepting the critique or the feedback, and making sure it's a two-way street, because again, it is your book. So one thing that I've encountered is that they might not have been satisfied with the change, but that's not a reason for me to become upset. It's I have to satisfy the client and make sure that their book is up to par in their eyes, because that's what matters the most. So if any of you have any other questions about developmental editing or Poland Enterprises or myself, or you're interested in seeing clients that I've worked with, you're welcome to visit my website at www.polandllc.com. Again, that's www.polandllc.com. Poland is spelled Polland. Polland, that's how you spell my last name. And if you would like to email me, it's poland@polandllc.com. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to follow up. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to you. And thank you for watching.